The UNCW women's soccer team returns home after over a month on the road. And with that, we have another edition of Keeping It Real with Coach Neal. Alongside UNCW head women's soccer coach Chris Neal, I'm Eric Rue. And Coach, after what seems to be an eternity on the road with several weeks and uncertainty due to the hurricane, you have to be pretty glad to be able to be back home as you start a stretch of 3 home games in your Final Four down the stretch run.
Yeah, we are very, very happy to be back home. It did seem like a very long time, and it was. If you look at it from a competitive standpoint, it's got to be the first and only time that a team has started league play with 5 consecutive games on the road when you only get to play 9 games. But it was an incredible experience for our team. They grew tremendously through the whole experience. From a competitive standpoint, a tremendous amount of adversity. But yes, Eric, we are very, very happy to be home. I think the girls have been able to exhale a little bit and just kind of calm down, and things have become a little more normal for them. Starting classes obviously eases some of their tension of the uncertainty of what was going to happen there. But yeah, we're happy to be back.
You have the bye on Thursday night. You'll play Delaware on Sunday in your first home game since September the 2nd. And with classes starting back up after nearly a month off, does that bye come at a good time for your players to be able to get back into a routine, not only academically, but in terms of getting back on the soccer field?
Yeah, it could not have been a better time to have the Thursday bye. And that did a couple of things for us. We needed to take a couple of days off in general, just step away, couple of days to exhale. We took a couple of knocks. You know, we had an 11-day gap in our entire training schedule before we went straight into playing Northeastern, William and Mary, Hofstra, some of the better teams in the league, and we took a few knocks along the way, and we needed a couple of extra days to get some kids healthy. So the bye, from that standpoint, could not have been better.
You take a look at that 6-game road trip, and you had a couple of losses, but if I'm not mistaken, all 3 of them were by 1 goal, including 2 overtime defeats. When you're playing on the road for so long and there's so much uncertainty, how good does it feel to know that your team didn't give up in those contests and also got a couple of wins, considering the fact that you need every win right now in the league?
Yeah, I mean, every game was a coin toss. You know, we feel like we could have won every single match. At the end of the day, the other teams, you know, JMU specifically and Hofstra specifically, executed down the stretch, and we did not. But we learned from that, and our girls understand what it's going to take to get points moving forward.
You now have 4 games left in the regular season. You're standing right at that cut line in terms of the conference championship field, but 3 of the 4 games are at home. How important is it for you to have those games at home going down the stretch when you need every point you can get?
Well, it's all about points, and right now, if you're looking at it, we have some games in hand. We have actually 2 games in hand on Hofstra, I believe. We have a game in hand on a couple of other teams because of the loss of our Elon game, which is now going to be played at a later date. So it's going to be very interesting down the stretch. You know, it certainly helps playing at home. That's where you have to get 3 points. I think realistically now we could finish anywhere between second and anywhere else in the table. It's all about getting 3 points. I think it's probably more realistic if we went out, we're probably looking at a 2 or a 3 seed. But winning out in this league is something that is not an easy task. And every single game, like I've told the girls, if you don't show up and outwork the other team and execute, then anybody in this league is going to beat you.
You turn your attention now to Delaware on Sunday, a team that will play Friday night against Towson in a rescheduled game and then make the trek down here tomorrow to face you. As you look at the Blue Hens, what do you see from them, and what are some things that you guys will have to do to be successful?
You know, this is a cruel sport sometimes, and the variance in this sport and wins and losses can be, the swings can be huge. And I see a Delaware team that has been playing really well. Their coach has done an incredible job, Mike, with them and organizing them. They took a lot of injury early on, but they keep getting better. They've adjusted. And I've watched the games, and they're competitive, and for whatever reason, the ball is just not bouncing their way. And when you only play 9 conference matches, you need the ball to bounce your way. It's just that simple. They're a very dangerous team, very well organized, and we have to be highly, highly prepared to play against them.
I would be remiss if we didn't bring up the play of Sydney Schneider, who will miss Sunday's game, but for a very good reason, as she helped Jamaica qualify for the semifinals of the CONCACAF Women's Championship. She played well in her 2 starts in group stage play, giving up 2 goals to Canada, one of the best teams in the entire world and then pitching a shutout against Costa Rica. For her to be able to get those types of results has to be a pretty good feeling for the program.
Yes, Sydney's only a sophomore, and we're very fortunate to have two very qualified goalkeepers on this team. Katie Broderick has done an outstanding job for us this year. So with Sydney gone and playing in what is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity with Jamaica, Katie's done very well. But for Sydney, we're so happy for her to see the elation on her face on camera after that Costa Rica win, because that win put them in such an incredible position right now. They get to play the U.S. and then I think the loser of Panama and Canada, I believe. Yep. So they're in a great position to maybe sneak into the World Cup as that third team out of CONCACAF. In that Jamaica game, in the Costa Rica game, she played phenomenal. Her decision-making off her line was big time. Their coaching staff texted me immediately after the game and said, how well she played. Even though we watched it, they were just wanting to make a point, basically to say, hey, your girl was big time today. I think she earned player of the match that game, and she was definitely the star of the show against Costa Rica.
Well, Coach, we wish you the best of luck on Sunday. We hope to be talking to you after another 3-point performance against the Blue Hens next week when we get back to it with Keeping It Real.
Thanks a lot.
For head coach Chris Neal, I'm Air Crew. Tune in next week for another edition of Keeping It Real with Coach Neal right here on the Seahawk Digital Network.